the December 14th, 2020 meeting of the Westwood Recreation Commission. It is being recorded by Westwood Media Center and will be available on their YouTube channel. So calling meeting to order, it is 7:09 p.m. And the first item on the agenda is public comment, and I do not see any members of the public in attendance. So we'll go right to the consent agenda. And does anyone have anything that they wish to remove or add to the consent agenda below? Okay, if not, can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve it. This is Paul.
Thanks, Paul. Second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Bob. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, the consent agenda is approved. And then the next item is approval of the minutes from both the October and the November 16th meeting, because I believe we revised the October minutes, right? That's
correct.
Yes. So, and they're in the packets. The October 19th minute starts on the very next page, the second page, and then it goes right into on page, what is that, 4, the November minutes. Does anyone have any questions or concerns with those two sets of minutes? Do they reflect the correction?
Yes.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Mitch, and seconded by?
I'll second it.
Okay, thanks, Paul, and all in favor?
Aye.
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 And anyone opposed? No, okay, the minutes are approved. And next is the November monthly report. That's you,
All right.
Rich, right?
Yeah, so I'll take you through a couple of highlights here. The first being Wentworth Hall. There was a time when it was uncertain whether or not the lower level was going to be finished. And you may recall from past discussions that with ICC gone, we lose a lot of space that we used for programming that was going to be used at the Wentworth Hall in the lower level. And with the uncertainty of that being finished, that put a lot of our program space in jeopardy. I recently learned that that lower level will be finished, and so we will have space when that building comes online, which I understand is scheduled for June of next year. So that's a little bit of good news.
Yeah.
So we're
Rich,
happy about that.
How many square feet do you have in the building?
I don't know the answer to that, Bob.
Can you
It's
hear
not
me?
going to be as much. It's not going to be as much as we had the ICC, and it's shared community space. So we'll have to, for instance, the preschool room that we had the ICC, we just left set up. So we're going to have to set up and break down every time we use the building.
Oof.
So it's not as good as it was, but it's better than nothing.
Is there a, like a big area or a big room like,
Yes.
okay.
Yep.
So similar to the ICC, but just not as big.
Well, yeah, I think it's similar in that it's usable space. It's going to be a larger room as opposed to the ICC had smaller rooms, more like small classrooms.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah. So it's going to be a little bit different space, and it's going to, like I said, it's going to be shared. And so we're going to have to figure it out and just make do with what we have and make it work, which we'll do. I'd rather have some space and figure out how to use it than no space. And, you know, so it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Rich, who are you sharing the space with?
It's whoever in the town would want to use it.
Oh, it's going to be open to members of the town.
So there'll be other, I mean, there are other people that used ICC, right?
That's true. There are other programs, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. So,
Okay. All right.
Any hope of having a dedicated space for recreation commission, recreation department activities?
Not in that building. No. The only time we're going to get dedicated space is when we get our own building, Mitch, which is what we've talked about that a few times, right? Recently, and
Yeah, master
you know,
plan.
the soonest that'll happen will most likely be once they decide what they're doing with the elementary schools, and
Right.
you know, if one of those buildings then becomes available, but that's years away. So.
Yep.
Or if we get the budget to build
Rich,
a
that's
brand
at
new
least
building.
3 years away, right?
Yes, yep. Field house, recreation department offices, we got it.
Mhm.
We're working on it.
So if I win Mass Millions tonight, I'll donate the money to the town. How's that?
The Rich Adams Recreation Center.
That works
Yeah.
for me.
Your name will be on
That
it.
works for me.
With a full basketball court, I don't think you could afford it with $1 million.
We do need one.
I think Mega Millions is like 500 million, so it'll cover it.
Yeah, okay.
So
We have 2 basketball courts.
you're right.
Yeah.
So other things, you hopefully you received your brochure in the mail not too long ago, and we've had very successful initial registration for our winter programming, and the initial registration started on December 4th, and the first 5 days of registrations were about double what we did last year for winter. So yeah, so it's good. We've also selected our date for March into summer, which will be March 13th. It's always the second Saturday in March. Of course, we still don't know whether we'll have the open house part of it like we have in years past. Of course, this year we had to cancel because of COVID. And in all likelihood, if things remain relatively similar to what they are now, we won't be able to have the open house part of our March into summer, but it'll still be our opening registration for spring and summer programming. So it's still a big day for the office because that's where the bulk of our registrations come from. Okay. The other thing you may have noticed is we, for the month of December, we put out a lot of one-day, fun-day type programs. So it's late fall for us, and we've been very successful. Last week, we had 40 or 50 kids doing ornament making and whatnot. We've got similar type programs going this week. So we started putting those out at the end of last month, and they've been very well received, pretty much sold out. So it's been going well.
And are those free for the public, or is there a small charge?
It's a small charge, like 10 or 15 bucks or something like that.
Just the pumpkins were free.
The pumpkins were free, right?
Yep. And do we make some money off it, or is the charge just covering costs?
No, we make a little bit of money.
Someone else had a question. I think I interrupted somebody or spoke at the same time. No? Oh, okay. All right. Anything else you wanted to highlight on this?
Yeah, just way down the bottom, we finished, as you know, the ICC is closing. We need to be out by Monday. So throughout November, we were preparing to get all of our stuff out of that building, which was completed last week. We got a new container, which is situated down behind the multi-purpose field to store the stuff. So all of that's been moved, and we're out of that building now completely. So
now, is some of that stuff things we'll need to use before the Wentworth Hall comes online, or?
possibly.
Okay.
Yep. So, but I mean, we're putting shelves in the container. It's quite a good sized container. It's like I don't know, 10 by 20, and we're putting shelves in there. So you'll be able to walk in it, and we'll be able to get at what we need.
Oh,
Rich,
great.
you have 2 other containers behind
do.
the high school as well,
We do.
right?
Yep. They're smaller though. The other two probably equal the size of the new one.
Okay.
Yep.
So we've been in the container business for a while.
for a while. Yep. It's our only alternative right now.
For at least 10 years that I know of.
Yeah. It's actually this, it's pretty cost effective. So, yeah. So yeah, that's it for the monthly report.
Hey, Rich, just a quick question. Does it make
Sure.
sense? I know this is small potatoes. Does it make sense for us to look at purchasing a container versus
Yeah.
renting one?
We did purchase it.
Okay, great. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So it makes sense. Well, I saw some pictures on Facebook, I think it was today, of the ornament making, and the kids look pretty happy in the pictures, so.
We received several emails about how well it was received. It was done quite well. Kelly did a great job with that. And the parents, the kids had a lot of fun. The parents were very grateful.
Yeah, for something to do for the kids, yeah.
Right.
Well, keep up the good work with that.
Thank you. Absolutely.
So was that it on the November report?
Yes. Yeah. The only other thing on here, I'll give an update as it's its own agenda item. So I'll hit that a little bit later.
Awesome. Okay, thanks. Commission member reports, examples of town signage. I think this was on the fields and tennis courts. Was this Elizabeth's item? Or was somebody else?
I think what we talked about last time, and I don't remember who suggested it, but for fields, somebody wanted to possibly put signage up at the fields.
Mhm.
And certain folks talked or volunteered to go to certain other fields to check out another town, see what was posted for signage there.
So, yeah, this is Paul. I neglected to head to Needham, and
Me too.
I apologize for that. I'll have it done for the next meeting.
All right.
Okay.
And actually, this needs to go to Liz. I think Liz was the one who volunteered to take she wanted to take the lead on that. So we should, I'll get those.
So
pictures.
Sheila and Paul will get examples to
Yeah.
Liz before. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Julie, you know to look at that Katomet field and Medfield?
I was supposed to do that. So Paul, me and you were going to keep each other accountable on that. I
Yeah.
dropped the ball as well.
Yeah.
But the Katomet field would be an interesting one. Cataumet.
All right, netting around the baseball fields. Is this Bob?
Paul requested this to be added.
Oh,
So
Paul, okay.
Sure. So, I know that folks have heard me talk about this, was that ad nauseam about this, but, I think it's something that I'd like to bring up and, you know, if there are baseball games going on and at the high school and there are foul balls, we are extremely lucky that no one has ever gotten hurt from playing tennis. So it happens quite frequently, and high balls from foul balls go into the tennis courts, and there are no nets there. And I think that we should probably take a look. I'd like to, you know, have us take a look at that. You know, I'm not sure what the pricing is, or just first of all, I'd like that. No one really supported it before. I think Nicole did not want to do this. So I'm just trying to see if we could possibly
When you say
bring
quite
this back up
frequently,
again.
Paul, what is quite frequently?
During a game, we could probably say you will at least get 3 foul balls into the tennis courts.
Well, I don't know where you're getting your information from, but that's not the case.
Well,
I don't know. I'm down there quite a bit, so I see what's going on. And there's occasionally a ball goes into the tennis court. Occasionally.
yeah,
So
okay.
probably-
Well, so Bob, I appreciate the fact that you telling me that I don't know what I'm talking about, but unfortunately, I've been at a couple of games myself, and I've seen quite a few foul balls go in there. So whether it's
One
1
game?
or 2 or 3
don't-
or whatever, it's still the risk of someone getting hurt. So
It
it's
does
something
seem
that
pretty dangerous if you're playing tennis and unaware that a ball's coming flying.
all it takes is one. So Bob, even if you want to say it's one, it's just one heading in there, and when those things land, they land really
What
hard.
about all the balls that leave Morrison on East Street and hit cars? That
Well, we
happened.
could,
That's been
Bob, you
happening.
bring up great points, but you know what?
That's happened
All the new baseball fields, you see it down in Zavarian. I've seen all the new baseball fields
Marion does have them, yeah.
have protective netting around them. All of them do.
But let me just tell you this.
They didn't do it at Morrison, so.
So the balls still go out as a variant. I've been down there watching games, and the balls still go out as a variant. You can't keep the
Yeah.
balls in the park. They send kids. I've seen they send down bench players down running down clapboard tree to retrieve the balls.
At least there's a first effort of having netting there as opposed
Right.
to nothing.
Yeah. So where would the netting go? So let me tell you what we do at the high school field. For practices, we purchased a turtle. I don't even know anybody know what that means. It's like a cage. They're quite expensive. Little League didn't. Yeah, Little League did contribute. So if there's just a practice going on, like you can imagine, if you're running batting practice for a whole team, you know the chances in balls going out more frequently than a game. So we have this turtle. We've had it for a few years, and so when we have practice, we move the turtle up. It's like a big cage. Has anybody ever seen it?
Yeah, so that's great, Bob. I appreciate,
Right.
knowing about that, but I think what we're talking about are games. So you're not going to have a turtle during a game.
Right.
That's my concern.
what-
That's
so
what
what
I think
about-
the issues are.
Martha Jones, Downey, the middle school, Sheehan.
So Bob, are you saying hold on? Are you saying for us to forget about it? Is it?
No.
I don't know where are you
No,
going with this?
I don't think we should forget about it. It's just
Okay. So Martha, I can debate you on every one. So if you're saying Martha Jones, okay, everybody is there to watch the baseball game. There are you don't have to worry about kids who are playing another sport or who are not paying attention to the
Right.
baseball game and all of a sudden getting hit. That is, the high school is one of the places that I brought up that we should probably take a look at. Martha Jones, okay, there's no tennis courts next to it. There's no one playing, kickball,
Soccer, yeah.
or anything like that at Martha Jones. What's your next one, Bob?
Well, hold on a second. If there's a sign at the tennis courts that says warning, potential, like baseballs could come into the tennis court during games, does that cover us? Or that does not cover us in the event that someone gets hit? Does it, Rich, do you know that?
Cover us how?
So in the
I mean,
event, if
someone's gonna
someone
get
who's
hurt. I
playing,
mean, the town has insurance for that kind of thing. But I think the issue that Paul's bringing up is that there's a risk of somebody getting hurt, which he's trying to avoid, right?
Right.
Covered or not
Yeah,
covered, someone.
could I interject here? Procedurally, is this our ball of wax, so to speak, or is this like the high school's own? It's a school, so is this the school department or is this the recreation commission department to discuss netting on a baseball field?
Great question. It could be
So,
both. It could be
And
both.
I'm not
Mitch.
saying, Paul, I'm not saying we should or
No,
shouldn't do it. I
no,
think I understand the risk, but who would actually? I don't want to just spin our wheels here. Who's responsible for that?
No, so my thoughts are, and again, this is just my thoughts, is that we discuss it as a group here, and then if we decide that we would want to push this further, then we have a conversation with the athletic director and tell him about our
I agree with
concerns.
that, Paul. I agree with that if you guys feel that this is something that needs to be pursued, we'd have a conversation with the athletic department and then see where it goes from there. But they would need to be involved. They would need to be involved, Mitch, without question.
Right.
Well, they
I'd
own
like
those.
I wish we could
They
have,
own
since
the
this
high
is just brought up, could we have, or at least wait till we have Elizabeth? She's a real participant up at the high school at the tennis course. So I think she would be able to help us to determine, what kind of risk we're facing here or how often this happens.
Absolutely. I think it's a great idea because the fact is, I mean, we're not under any time constraints at this point now because obviously winter time and nothing's going to be happening. So, yeah,
So I think month's agenda.
I think that would be great. That's if people are interested in carrying it forward. So
there's a couple things, Paul, that need to be considered, of course, and one of them is going to be cost. And I have no idea, but it's not going to be small money. So this is something that will probably ultimately need to be put through in a capital and expenditure budget. So this isn't something that will happen next spring regardless. So yeah.
Yeah, I want to tell you, in Morrison Park, we were concerned about cars because East Street's so close to the park, and many cars are getting hit by balls on East Street. Some of the balls end up across the street in the yards of the residents, and they're pretty outspoken, especially about the tennis court down there. So I'm surprised they haven't really complained about it. But we looked into putting up poles, and it was determined that to keep the balls in the park, or most of them, you would need 60-foot poles to stop the foul balls from leaving the park. And so we have netting up there, which I don't know if they're still taking it down, but we used to take it down every year because it gets damaged in the winter and it's not cheap. It's just like the batting cages, we have netting. We take it down in the winter. So we looked at all the issues. This isn't a new issue for the baseball organization. So we looked at what we could do at a reasonable cost, what we could maintain. You know, you start getting a net 60 feet up in the air, you got issues. And so we agreed to put the netting around Morrison because that was the most dangerous park we had. And I would tell you, there's no 3 balls goes in the tennis courts during a baseball game. There might be 3 every. I don't want to say there's no 3 in a game. Absolutely, there may not be 3 in a week, but I agree it is an issue.
Well, and yeah, and so Elizabeth would definitely have something to say about it. I would imagine that the tennis coaches at the high school too would have some information or opinions that they could share.
You might also want to, in going along with Bob's point, I was also on the board of Little League at the time Morrison was being renovated, and netting was definitely an issue. They shifted the field so more balls were getting out, and then there is netting there. Bob, I don't know the height for what it is, but that was definitely an issue that was talked about. There is netting there. I'm not sure how high it is.
Yeah, it's about 30 feet, Rich.
Okay, yeah.
But
Yeah,
30
60 feet would be,
won't
and it's not foolproof, but it was considered.
No.
So that's something.
A lot of balls
you
still get out. I was down there last summer for a week, and several balls landed on East Street and went over the yard because at the end of the day, I was running a program there. At the end of the day, I have to walk over there because I'm not going to let it go out there, of course, and retrieve whatever balls I can.
So what do you consider several balls, Bob?
A day? I'm running a camp now.
Oh, okay.
So I would go over and find 2 or 3 balls either on the street. Now, to get to the tennis courts, that's quite a poke. You know what I mean? That's slightly uphill, and that's quite a foul ball. But all it has to do is clear the net to get out on the street. But you know, we've been living with this a long time, so maybe I don't know. I don't know of any. I don't know of any foolproof park around except Fenway Park that you can stop. And you see how they do what they do with the netting there. They net the whole thing. And even before they had somebody get hurt, they just don't put a net up at the backstop. They actually net from the backstop all the way up to the sky boxes, because there's no net that'll keep the balls in the park.
Yep. Bob, you might be aware of this. There was an injury at Thurston has a field, and there is no netting to the third base side, and a ball flew out there and did hit someone, and someone connected to the town.
Somebody hit it, Martha Jones, too, on a home run.
Yeah, and I saw someone hit a Downing.
Yeah, people do get hit by baseballs. It's just like I was watching Leslie Frank's team play, and I saw somebody get hit with a crossball. Oof. And that thing is hard. And they were standing, because in lacrosse, they kind of stand on the sidelines. So they were passing up along the sideline, and the ball went over, I'm not sure it was the Westwood kids, but the ball went over the head, and it did hit somebody like in the leg. So it wasn't.
Okay.
All right. So what's the agenda item? We're going to discuss it with the school. Rich has concern with the costs and the options on the netting, and we're gonna ask Elizabeth if she's aware of any, what?
Well, so I think maybe we'll talk about it, talk about netting in general again at the next meeting. I don't know that we're going to talk to the school until we hear Elizabeth's point of view, right?
Okay.
Sense.
Yeah, and then we'll discuss next steps at the next meeting.
Maybe
So,
we could put
I'm
netting
sorry, I was on
down.
mute. If you'd like me to, I'm happy to do it either way. I'm happy to talk to Matt in the interim and just ask him if there's any history that he knows of. This is maybe something
Okay.
that they've looked into and they already know what the cost is.
Sure.
You know, they might be adamantly opposed to it, which again would be good to know. So I'm happy to talk to him and see what, if any, information is out there, what consideration it's already been given. And
Sure.
I'll bring that back to the meeting next time.
Perfect.
If
Great.
you'd like,
Sounds great.
or we can wait. It's up to
Yeah.
you.
No,
No,
I'm good with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Paul, are you just talking the high school field? Because the agenda says netting around baseball fields.
So personally, I think it's more at the high school than it's anywhere else. You know, I could also say the Thurston School, because Mitch just mentioned, do you remember the person who got hit there a couple of years ago? That was my wife. She got hit. So,
Sorry, Paul, I knew it was some big
Yeah.
mucky muck in town. Yeah.
yeah, big fat cat, big fat cat.
No, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry. I didn't
Yeah.
realize it was your
Yes,
wife.
so she got hit.
my goodness.
Luckily she was okay, but she had a big bruise on the side of her head for
Yeah.
a long time. So in any event, so I mean, a couple of doctor's appointments confirmed that everything was okay, and we were lucky. So, but again, if it hit her on the top of the head as opposed to the side of her head, it would have been a completely different story.
Yeah. So
So-
I was sitting next to someone watching a soccer game at Downey, and a ball came and hit the person next to me right on the side of the head, and she had a concussion.
Yeah,
We had no idea. No one yelled. We had no idea that ball was coming until it was right there.
yeah.
I don't
So-
want to get crazy, and Bob, you'd know this about at Sheehan. There are two fields next to each other, and games are going on simultaneously, and it's very dangerous because
Yeah.
you're watching one field, and then
Mhm.
balls are coming from the other field. I'm not aware of any injuries, but it's not the safest
You're
situation.
talking about balls from one game going to the other game.
Yes, Bob. Yeah.
Yeah, it happens. It happens all over the place. I
Yeah.
know in Norwood, they have two fields back to back. So if you hit a home run in the front field, it goes right on to the back field. But usually what happens, because I've been around baseball fields a while,
Have you?
like a long time. So what happens is that people yell, like when there's a foul ball hit and it gets up by the tennis courts, everybody yells.
Yeah, they should.
They should. They all
So-
yell. All the players yell, and then everybody. But I've never seen anybody hitting the tennis court. But I have seen, in the last 10 years, I have seen, 8 or 10 balls go in there, and I'm down there quite a bit.
Mhm.
So 8 or 10 is too many. But I mean, maybe you could put a net on if you're facing the courts from the parking lot, that fence on the left, the closest fence to the field, maybe you could raise
Sure.
that fence or put a net on that fence.
Maybe something to think about. But I think we spent a little. I don't want to take all the time.
Yeah,
on
we'll
this
talk about it
item.
next.
I think it's time for us to go on to this one. Rich, you're going to go ahead and talk to.
Matt.
Mr.
Well, I'm happy to do that, Paul.
Okay,
Sure.
great, fantastic. All right, thank you.
All right, and hopefully we'll have Elizabeth at the next meeting. Okay, so director/staff reports, the fireworks. I
Yeah. So I
understand they've
just
been canceled.
Yeah, I just have a few updates here. The fireworks real quick, talking with Chris and Jared last week, where the state went backwards in the reopening plan. They went from phase 3, step 2 back to step 1. And the feeling was that given the significant increases in cases, not only in the town, but just generally speaking within the state, it was smart to cancel. We had to sign the contract and commit to a $6,500 spend, and we couldn't wait any longer to commit to the firework company. And just given the safety concerns, it just was not deemed, a good thing to go forward with. So we unfortunately had to cancel, as you saw.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it is what it is.
Well, and part of the problem is no matter what we tried to do, people are spread out all over the campus, the high school campus, Thurston campus, other areas. And there's any type of guidance that we issued in terms of attendance, social distancing, masks, et cetera, no matter what there's just no way to enforce it. Right.
Right. And people aren't traveling or going, hopefully not having big New Year's Eve parties.
Yeah.
And so they have nothing to do. I would
Right.
drive over there. Like, what else are you going to do?
Well, and so last year, I think we estimated 4,000 to 5,000 people attended. So it'd probably be more this year. Obviously, it's always weather dependent, but I think the concern was that it would just be too crowded, and
Right.
there's just no way that we could manage that kind of a crowd.
Yeah.
It's actually illegal to have it, Rich.
Well, yeah.
Well, now, yeah, more than 50 people. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
True.
Yep.
True.
This COVID regulations, I don't know who's an expert on it, but I'm not. But we're now in phase 3, step 2. Step 1, as Rich mentioned, we drop back.
yes, right.
In phase 3, step 1, there's very specific guidelines on what kind of activities you can do, depending on the risk factor of the activity. And the risks go from level 1 to level 4. So the higher risk. So the higher risk, the sports that are in level 4 sports, the higher risk, like football, basketball, hockey, according to the guidelines from the state, they don't allow any games. So I'm confused. How come? Because I watch this stuff because it could affect what I do. How come they started basketball today on a higher risk sport when the state guidelines don't allow it?
What has that got to do with us, though?
What?
But
Are you talking high
respectfully,
school?
what does that got to do with us?
Well,
Yeah,
because
that's not through the
the
rec.
activities that Rich does, whatever he does offers.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, we have no control of what the high school does. My daughter just had tryouts tonight. I mean, there is some risk, but they are playing. They are
Yeah,
playing.
that's what's confusing.
But
Yeah.
that's not a Westwood Recreation.
No, I
Right,
understand.
that's the MIAA.
Important because
Yeah.
we canceled a lot of stuff last year. Depending on, we canceled a lot
Right.
of, depending
No, that
on,
does. Yeah.
depending on who was championing it.
It does surprise me about basketball. I mean, that's a very high contact in your face.
My daughter we need to get her out of the house. Don't say that. We want basketball. Give her something to do.
I've heard things like they're going to have fewer people on the free throw line, guarding when someone's doing free throws, and they're not going to be allowed to cover each other closely. The kids can't play basketball if they can't cover each other closely. So I don't see how that's going to possibly work. They're going to be in your face.
Soccer was all kinds of different rules. I mean, my daughter plays, and Paul,
Soccer
you know
was
that too.
Soccer was moved.
They have
Yeah,
different rules.
soccer
Okay.
was moved from. Soccer wasn't in high risk. Soccer.
Well,
Okay.
in any event, it is MIAA and not Westwood Recreation. So,
Like
yeah.
the rec department couldn't do flag football last August, but 2 weeks later, with no changes in any of the classifications or the state agenda, Rich couldn't do it, but we turned around and let a private organization use our fields for flag football.
So can we, this is Paul, can we get back to the agenda?
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So, any other questions or thoughts about fireworks?
Paul, we can discuss anything that can affect the rec department and the activities that Rich does, because we were on the subject of COVID, and that's why I brought it up.
Okay, so let's move on to the general budget then. So included in your packet is the municipal budget for the recreation department. I funded it level, or requested, of course, it's not approved, but requested it level funded from the year prior, which is something we've done now for 2 or 3 years. Of course, the majority of our spend is from the revolving fund, right? So this covers mostly just office expenses. And the request was from the finance department, from the town, that we do, we try to be as, conservative as possible with the budget, given what's going on with, COVID and everything else like that. So, so hopefully you've had a chance to look at it. I'm happy to answer any questions, but it's really quite simple. It's pretty much just level funded from the year prior.
So there's no increases in salary or any of that stuff?
Well, there will be for salary. The salary would be the norm, what they normally do. I'm talking about the actual, it's like, if you look at, do you have it in front of you?
Page
Sheila?
7.
Page 7?
Yeah, page 7.
So the salaries have not been completed yet. Finance will put that in. So I'm just talking about the expenses, the expense part of it, which the total is $15,784.
And it looks like we spent, not surprisingly, less than budget this year because, travel and whatnot was not incurred.
Right. That's basically. Right. Yep. Yep. And
so,
again,
so wait a second. You have travel and you have meals in here with a number that's higher than 2020 and 2021.
No,
looking at
it's the same. Well, I'm budgeting the same thing as what we budgeted last time. Now,
okay.
and keep in mind too, our budget, we break it out into components, but we're not constrained by those components. So I can spend my 15 grand on anything I want.
Okay.
As long as it's a legitimate expense. Okay. Right. So if I have extra printing expense or postage expense, I can use that money if I don't use it for, say, travel.
Okay.
So printing was a lot higher than budgeted this year, but nothing else was.
Right.
Okay. And what caused the printing to be a lot higher?
So it's just that I ran our brochures through this account. In years past, some of them came out of the revolving fund, because each quarter our budget, our expense for the brochure is $3 to $4 grand. So it actually exceeds what we have for the budget. So this year I just put more in through there.
Because you could, basically. Yep. Okay. Anyone have any other questions about the budget?
So if I recall correctly, if there's no more questions, I think what Nicole had you do last year was actually vote to approve this budget. So if you want to do that.
Sure. I guess I'll make a motion to vote to approve the budget. Give a second.
Sure, I'll second it.
Thanks, Paul. And all in favor of the level budget?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, the budget passes. What is it, 6-0? 6. Yeah, 6. I need your picture on there, Bob, or your face. I lose track of you.
Well, I don't know what's going on, so next time I'll switch computers. Because
It's probably a privacy screen somewhere that is hiding your camera.
No, he has the video shut off the same way you mute the mic.
No, he said he clicked that.
See when you click it, watch, it goes, see what happens?
What, you want me to click on that icon?
Yeah,
Start
click on the
video.
camera, click on the camera icon.
I thought you did that earlier on, Bob.
Yeah, I did. Nothing happened.
Oh, where?
I did it again.
Oh, do you have a little window over your camera?
That's what I said, a privacy thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have 2 laptops I'm using right now. One is for the screen.
Okay,
The other one is so I can go and look at the data without splitting the screen.
you're overcomplicating it, Bob.
I know, so next time I'm going to use my old computer for the video,
All right.
okay?
So, all right. So the only other thing that I just wanted to give you was the continuing update on our HVAC system for the pool. And the engineers, our engineers work with the company engineers. And late last week, they modified the curb to help alleviate the airflow. I don't have the results of that yet. Waiting for that, but they have taken action to help alleviate that, and hopefully that will fix it. We'll see, and I'll have more updates for you as we go forward. But as of right now, some action has been taken, and but we don't have the results yet as to how effective it was. But as it stands now, it's still working. It's made a massive difference in terms of air quality in the auditorium.
Good. All right, other items not reasonably anticipated, 48 hours in advance, anything else come up? No? Okay, and then the next meeting, yeah, so January 18th is a holiday, so 25th is the proposal. I'm not traveling the world right now. That this is as good a date as any for me. Anyone have any concerns with January 25th?
Not at all.
All right, so that will be the next meeting. And then can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Bob. Someone
Second.
want a second? Joyce.
Am I
Joyce
on
raised
mute?
her hand.
Am I on mute again?
No,
we
you're
can
not on
hear you.
mute, but I,
Okay, you
you
can hear me?
both raised
Okay.
your hand and I wanted, Joyce hasn't gotten to do much with her computer issues. All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, this was short and sweet. Well, I hope everyone has as good a holiday, Christmas, Hanukkah, New Year as you can in these interesting times, and stay healthy.
Likewise,
Right.
happy holidays.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye, guys.
Merry
Happy
Christmas,
holidays.
Mitch, happy Hanukkah, everybody. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.